Good morning. I'm Kathy Miller, President of the Texas Freedom Network Education Fund, and I'd like to thank y'all for coming out to this press conference today. We're here to release the astonishing results of a new groundbreaking study on sexuality education in Texas public schools. Until now, no one, not the Texas Education Agency, not the United States Department of Education, no one has ever examined in detail what really happens in classrooms where sexuality education is taught. But in 2007, the Texas Freedom Network Education Fund contracted with Dr. David Wiley and Dr. Kelly Wilson, health education professors at Texas State University, to find out what Texas public schools teach about human sexuality. In September of that year, we sent out requests under the Texas Public Information Act to every one of the more than 1,000 public school districts in our state. We asked for district policies, curriculum materials, names of presenters, and other documents relating to sexuality education in our public schools. Dr. Wiley and Dr. Wilson then worked with a team of researchers to comb through the mountains of data we obtained from 990 of those districts. That's 96% return rate. We've classified 6 key findings from this research. They're highlighted in the executive summary that we provided for you in your press packet, and they're detailed in our report, Just Say Don't Know, Sexuality Education in Texas Public Schools. Our first key finding is that abstinence-only sexuality education has a stranglehold in Texas. In fact, 96% of public school districts in our state, educating more than 3.7 million students, teach nothing about responsible pregnancy and disease prevention except abstinence. To put that another way, less than 4% of Texas public schools provide even a shred of medically accurate, age-appropriate information about contraception and STD prevention. The fact that only a handful of the more than 1,000 school districts in Texas teach anything at all beyond abstinence might surprise you, but it shouldn't. Texas ranks 3rd in the nation in births to teenagers, a rate that began rising in 2006 for the first time in more than a decade. Additionally, young Texans rate well above national averages on virtually every published statistic on sexual risk-taking. Yet, in the face of these sobering statistics and the very real costs in dollars and lives these statistics represent, Texas continues to accept far more abstinence-only federal funding than any other state. And the sexuality education we are giving our children is clearly doing nothing to reduce teen pregnancy and sexually transmitted diseases. In 1995, the legislature required that public schools emphasize abstinence in sexuality education classes, but also allowed schools to teach other information about responsible pregnancy and disease prevention. In 2004, a Scripps Howard Texas poll asked Texans what kind of information they wanted taught about human sexuality. That poll revealed that 90% of Texans want information on both abstinence and contraception and disease prevention. So, if medically accurate information on contraceptives and STD prevention is permitted by law and overwhelmingly supported by the public, why do an astonishing 96% of Texas public school districts fail to provide even 1 iota of that information? Our research reveals a key answer and our second key finding. The promise of community input on policies surrounding sexuality education is a myth. In fact, 81% of school districts reported no formal recommendations from state-mandated school health advisory councils. These are the councils that are supposed to provide input from parents and community members. Now, I'm a mother with 2 daughters, ages 10 and 14, in Texas public schools. And like most parents, I provide the moral and ethical guidance my children need on this sensitive subject. And like most parents, I absolutely want sexuality education classes to encourage abstinence. But we must stop burying our heads in the sand about high teen birth and STD rates. And we must make sure young people get the medically accurate information they need to make responsible life decisions. One district superintendent made an admission that should be shocking. "We are," he said, and I quote, "a small school with 301 students in grades pre-K through 12. Most of these kids live on a farm or have animals they feed and care for. They get a pretty good sex education from their animals. I want my kids to have a better sexuality education than that. Ignorance simply won't protect our children." While I've told you what Texas students are not learning about responsible pregnancy and disease prevention, I'd like to introduce you to the authors of this report, who will tell you the astonishing information we learned about what they are learning in their abstinence-only classes.